Hello, friends. Wildly of Wild Fempire here. Happy Moonday. It is Moonday, September 12th. And what I am curious about exploring today is going to be a short little live. I have some construction going on next door. I don't know if you can hear the music or hammers or anything, but it's going to be a short little snippet jump in today. And what I am really curious about, what I want to talk about, what I want to feel into here collectively, is this concept of creating space for ourselves when we are going through transitional or transformational times. This is something that I don't see being talked about very often. And it's a really important part of my personal life experience and the rituals and rhythms that I move through in my own life. And it's something that I'd like to start bringing out into the Fempire, bringing out into the collective conversation. It feels like to me that we live in a social structure, in a culture that would prefer that we put a pretty face on everything, right? That we allow ourselves to suppress our own internal and emotional experience in order to make things more convenient or more comfortable for those around us. I would love to know if that feels true for you. Please feel free when you're watching this replay to leave a comment below or let me know what this sparks in your imagination. But for myself, it feels like we are all very much encouraged to go along and get along, to make things as easeful and effortless for those around us, and to, hi Jess, welcome, and to play small so that we are not being an imposition to those around us. Let me know if this pings true for you. And so it can actually be an act of revolution, an act of countercultural narrative to not subscribe to this type of thinking, right? If you're just popping on here, what I am referring to is this idea that we live in a culture that doesn't honor and respect when individuals are moving through a transitional or transformational space. We live in a paradigm that says you just need to buck up and put a smile on and keep moving through your day and keep being productive, keep being efficient. And we don't have any spaciousness or compassion for the truth that when individuals are moving through major transition or transformation, which is generally usually linked to some sort of grief process, some sort of loss or change that we may or may not prefer, we don't give one another the space. There is this cultural narrative of expectation. But the truth is, when people are moving through those spaces, they aren't efficient. We aren't necessarily productive. I don't know if this is true for you, but it's true for me. When I am in an emotional space and I continue to try and put myself into work mode or try to put myself into efficiency mode, I'll just spin round and round. I'll have to do things perhaps multiple times because I make mistakes. I don't put out the quality of work that I would prefer when I am feeling really rejuvenated and resourced. we're not actually showing up the way we're told to, even though many of us are very, very good at putting the mask on and giving the smile and having the little one liners and engaging in the small talk. Many of us are really, really good at hiding when something is tumultuous inside of ourselves. It's whatever, it's not good or bad or right or wrong. It is a part of the program that we've all been indoctrinated with, right? And same thing with, yeah, the school system. I mean, how many times did you go to school when you were sick? Not like really sick, but kind of sick. And your parents needed to go to work and life just had to happen. And so you had to go and do the thing, even though your body was clearly telling you to rest. How many of us still to this day take the Dayquil and the Advil and go forward? Maybe not so many now that COVID is here. Perhaps that's one gift of COVID. We take illness a little more seriously. But the point is that that's in our bandwidth. That's in the mental wheelhouse. We've all kind of been gifted that pattern, that program to override our own personal needs in order to show up for those external to ourselves, whether it's our family or our job or whatever. And so, my curiosity today, what I want to talk about, because I'm about to do this, is what happens if we start giving each other permission to just have spaciousness and time when we are moving through a major transformational experience or transitional time. How would life and our communities and our connections shift if that was the expectation? If we all said, oh, when we move through challenging times, this is the protocol. People get to take space. They get to take time off of work. They get to take time to rest. They get to have solitude and no external expectations from their communities for a little while. What would happen if our communities begin to have this conversation of tending one another when transformation is occurring? Right? It feels to me in my body that this is one of the next steps and layers of coming into unity consciousness, into this Aquarian age that we are now experiencing, is learning how to unplug from these old individual programs and plug into the program of community. There's a reason why the word unity is in the word community. It is the exploration of operating in tandem with groups of people rather than focusing on the linear nuclear system that has been gifted to us from capitalism and patriarchy and white supremacy, right? Like, as we are moving through these processes of decolonizing our minds and stepping back into being people centric rather than profit centric, these are the types of questions that I think we should be asking. These are the thoughts that I think we should be exploring. And it begins with the individual. It begins with each one of us being willing to say, I'm going through transformation right now. I think I need to take some space from consuming other people's content, from being visible, perhaps, from putting a pretty face on my transformation. I need to get real. I need to be with myself. I need to do my thing. Yeah, I'm really curious how this lands for you. I'm curious what arises for you, if it feels like an uncomfortable concept or an uncomfortable idea to consider putting yourself first when moving through transition or transformation. If it feels really crunchy or uncomfortable to consider making your emotional experience a priority so that you can actually move through it faster. It's not something that we've really been taught in our culture. We tend to think that those emotions should be in the closet or behind closed doors. And yet we have such a beautiful example when watching children of how quickly a human being can move through an emotional reaction or move through an emotional expression when pain is caused, when transition happens, when a boundary is crossed. How quickly we can actually get in and out of that state if we allow the expression in the moment, in real time, without judgment or shame. It's actually the way we're designed to move. Obviously, children project it a lot more. They're louder. They haven't yet learned self capacity and tending and resilience. But that spark of childlike yes, that spark of giving ourselves permission to be in the moment and feel our feels without shame is our birthright. It is our birthright to feel those feelings because they give us data. They give us data about our relationship to our external environment, and they show us where our boundaries live. They show us where our needs reside, and they are here for a purpose. They are a release system, a mechanism of our nervous system, and they're very, very valuable. And so I invite you in this next week as we're moving towards equinox, which for me is a very emotional time, a time to really process and let go of anything that is stagnant or stuck, to compost it. I invite you to give yourself some time and space to explore this idea, this concept of giving yourself space to be when you're in transition, when you're in transformation, to honor the process as sacred for yourself, because it is. And if you don't honor it, who else will? Hmm. Yeah, that feels like the transmission today. I hope that it serves you well. And just to place a little seed here, I am going to be taking a pause from these lives for the next few weeks to go through my own transformation process. I will be back in mid October. I'll still be leaving the Moonday message videos for each week. I'm going to batch them all up in the next few days so that you can still get those transmissions throughout the month. But I'm going to be taking a space from live so that I can move through my own transformation process. I want to walk my talk and embody what it means to give ourselves time and space when we are in transformation. So, consider this your universal permission slip to always be able to take time and space for yourself when you need it. You don't owe anybody a fucking thing. This is your life. This is your ride. And it is your responsibility to own it for yourself in the ways that feel right and divine and true for you. So take good care. And I will pop back in here live in mid October. Until then, bye.